She'll talk and talk about a lot, and it all teeters on a little rude. She's not actually rude. She's really lovely, but the loudness doesn't help her. So I dive into my jeans, sucking in deep to button them quick and throw on a shirt and run down the stairs 2 at a time without any socks. I can hear Nanny asking about her mother, so I know it's Sophie. I can hear her yell to Sophie, "Here he comes, bounding down like a bull. You know, Ducks, this old house is 100 years old, and I'd like it to be around for at least another. Sophie is sitting at the table with her curly hair hanging off the back of the chair. Okay, so this is the character that I'm going to analyze today, Sophie. I'm thinking about her actions, thoughts, and dialogue. I stop. I know it's my friend, and at the same time, I don't know if it's my friend. I'm nervous all of a sudden and aware of my bare feet, and I'm out of breath, which I hate, so I take a minute and I do the one thing that I always do when I'm nervous in the kitchen. I twiddle with the rope that holds Jock's TV on top of the refrigerator. "Stop that right now," Nanny screams and comes over and swats my hand away from the knot. Sophie turns around and looks at me and smiles, but knows I'm in trouble. So there's a small action right there. Duck's got, scolded by his grandma, and Sophie kind of like turns and smiles and shrugs like she knows what's going on. So turns, and so I'm just jotting in here a quick note. Turns and smiles at Ducks when he gets scolded. That's already showing me something about her, that, she doesn't look away. She kind of looks and smiles, and she kind of sees what's going on and gets it. I stop. Sorry. "Stop that right now," Nanny screams and come over and swats my hand. Sophie turns around and looks at me and smiles, but knows I'm in trouble. "So help me, if that comes loose and falls, you'll be apologizing to Jock in person." Nanny means this is a big threat because Jock is dead. He has been for 2 years, and the only time she mentions it is when she's threatening to kill me. I smile back at Sophie and try to pretend that the crazy Irish lady who just threatened my life is just insane but harmless, and that everything else is fine, but we both know it isn't. "Where are your socks?" Nanny laughs. "He must have been too excited to hear you. He ran down in his bare feet. Well, say hello, won't you? Standing there like your jaw's coming off the hinges." So we're not actually going to hear Sophie say what her thoughts are, but when Duck says, and pretend in that everything else is fine, but we both know it isn't. To me, that's like referencing something that Sophie knows or thinks. So Sophie also knows that things are awkward between her and Ducks. So I've come up with an action, with a thought from Sophie. I'm going to look for some more of these, as well as a piece of dialogue to try and understand what kind of person Sophie is. Next page. "Hey," Sophie says. "Hi," I say back. "What are you up to?" Sophie asks. "Nothing, hardly." Nanny chimes in. "The little Lord just got out of bed." Sophie laughs because she's nice, and I think she really does like Nanny. So here's another action. Sophie chooses to laugh at the grandma's jokes. Maybe the grandma's jokes aren't actually funny, but Sophie's trying to make her feel better, right? Laughs at the grandma jokes. This is an action that shows us more about Sophie. Let's keep reading. Sophie laughs because she's nice, and I think she really does like Nanny, or at least I thought she did before I wasn't invited to her birthday. Maybe she hates us both. Well, I know nothing. Now I know nothing. "Well, do you want to hang out?" Sophie asks. "Sure, where do you want to go?" "You could stay for a bit if you want, and I'll fix you something," says Nanny. "You don't have to, Miss Flynn," says Sophie. "You need to eat, the two of you, and Duck still needs socks. It'll take no time at all. Go on up, and I'll bring something up to you," Nanny yells as she waves to us out of the kitchen. When Nanny offers food, she says, here's some dialogue. She says, "You don't have to." It's making me start to think she's pretty polite. She laughs at the nanny's joke. She tells her that you don't have to, don't worry about making me food. She just has this kind of politeness to her, okay? I take Sophie up to the living room, and it's strange because we don't say anything to each other, and we're always saying something, lots of things to each other all the time, or we used to. But now we just go up and sit there. The living room is really bright from the big windows and pretty in an old-fashioned way, I guess, but it's nothing to talk about. Sophie sits on the couch and crosses her legs on her, and I sit on the floor, totally silent. Then, I could put on a record, I ask, just hoping for something to happen. Anything, really, to get rid of this awful quiet. Sure, if you want, Sophie smiles. Or we can put on something off your phone. Or we could put on something, if you want, off your phone. I can hook it up, I say, smiling at her, hoping she'll smile back, which she does. But I guess I was hoping to, and that she would mean it. All the silence isn't helping. I take her phone and hook it up, so at least the room isn't so awful and quiet. Some terrible pop music blares out of the speakers, but the room still feels the same. Sophie says, sorry I haven't been around. I stayed at Allegra's last night and the night before. It was so weird. Weird like in a good way, or weird like in a weird, I ask. I mean, I like Allegra, says Sophie. I know you do, Sophie. You like her more than me now. Why don't you just say it? He's thinking. But all I say is, okay. And I know you don't, Sophie laughs. It's fine. She's like, whatever, I get why, but she's sort of funny and her house is really fun. Is it the best ever, I ask? Sophie laughs at this, her good laugh, her my laugh. It makes me feel really good just hearing it. And when I look at her, she's playing with her hair and she's always does all that quiet that's followed up the stairs is gone. It's just me and Sophie like always. And then, just as quickly, it's not. I feel really bad, Sophie says. Why, I say. I mean, I know why. I know exactly, but I want her to say it. Ellen told me she told you the thing about the makeover thing, Sophie says, still playing with her hair and really trying not to look at me. And I don't like that at all because, I mean, I wanted to talk to you about it. So something else she says that I think is really important is, I feel really bad, another piece of dialogue. I wanted to talk to you about it. So I know I haven't finished this chart, but I'm going to use this to come up with some traits and to kind of think of her, what kind of person Sophie is. It says, her actions, turns and smiles at Dux when he gets scolded. So she smiles at him, maybe tries to make him feel better. Laughs at the grandma's jokes. She says, no, she thinks that things are awkward between her and Dux, so she gets that and knows that. She tells the grandma, you don't have to do that, don't worry about it. So she's definitely like polite. I think she's pretty kind. She says, I feel really bad. I wanted to talk to you about it. I'm kind of getting the vibe that she's polite and kind, and that maybe like she really didn't want to, hurt Dux by not inviting him to this spa day thing. Maybe she kind of like doesn't know what to do. So I'm going to come up with some character traits. I noticed that Sophie is a person who is polite and kind. I'll start with that because she says thoughtful things to Nanny and tries to make her feel appreciated. She also apologizes to Dux. So I'm starting to notice something about Sophie. I think she seems like a pretty kind, nice person. But I'm going to come up with another theory here. I noticed that Sophie is a person who is unsure about, it almost seems like she's like unsure about herself, who her close friends are, how she wants to be friends with Dux, and how to move forward. Unsure about herself. Because she seems to really care about Dux, but didn't feel comfortable inviting him to the party. So she's like kind of unsure about herself and her friendship with him. The key here is that I looked for her actions, the things that she did, her thoughts, the things that she thinks, and her dialogue, the things that she says, to try and understand what kind of person she is and come up with some character traits. So you're going to do the same today with our main character, Dux. So remember, you're looking for characters' actions, thoughts, and dialogue, and you're putting those together to come up with some character theories based on their traits to describe them with an inference. I can't wait to see the work that you do. Enjoy chapters 5 and 6 today, and I will leave you with this.